Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. We have more gaming and PlayStation news, rumours and leaks to go over. Huge shout out as always to the God of War and Uncharted channel members. And if you enjoyed today's video, please show your support by hitting that like button. Hideo Kojima, the legendary gaming veteran and game director behind the iconic franchises like Metal Gear Solid and Death Stranding, is currently working on multiple projects that have been generating considerable excitement within the gaming community. While Death Stranding 2 On the Beach is set to release next month, Kojima Productions is also developing two other major titles, OD, which is a horror-themed game published by Xbox Game Studios and will probably be coming over to PlayStation platforms too, and another game called Physint, which is a stealth action IP game being developed in collaboration with Sony. Therefore, it will be a PlayStation exclusive game. Despite the anticipation surrounding these projects, Kojima recently acknowledged that both OD and Physint have faced development challenges due to the strikes. According to a tweet from Kojima's assistant, Ayako Terashima, the celebrated director recently discussed Physint's timeline in an interview with a French publication. From a translation of the interview by Risa Era's Red Kong reveals that Kojima anticipates Physint taking another 5 to 6 years to complete, pushing the potential release window to 2030-2031, meaning that it's very likely going to be a PlayStation 6 exclusive game. And when asked if he would consider directing a film in the future, Kojima responded positively, noting that he received numerous offers after leaving Konami. He goes on to say, yes, I would direct a film. Alongside Death Stranding 2, there's Physint in development. It will take me another 5 or 6 years, but maybe after that, I'll finally decide to make a film. And he continues by saying, I grew up with cinema. Directing would be a kind of tribute to it. What's more, I'm getting on in years and I'd rather do it while I'm still young. Physint, which remains largely under wraps and nobody really knows much about the game except for that it's expected to be a stealth-focused action game, potentially leaning into and drawing on Kojima's extensive experience with the Metal Gear Solid series. A kind of spiritual successor, if you like. If the title does launch as late as 2031, it will obviously debut on the PlayStation 6, given the ongoing rumours about Sony's next generation consoles. And whilst we're on the subject of Hideo Kojima, Death Stranding 2 is shaping up to be one of 2025's most anticipated releases. In the latest issue of Edge magazine, Kojima himself compared elements of Death Stranding 2 to Metal Gear Solid 5: The Phantom Pain, suggesting that the new title feels like a modernized take on the 2015 open-world stealth game. Kojima does go on to say that I felt myself when I played the game. When you return to your bed on the Magellan, it's the same feeling as returning to the plant in Metal Gear Solid. The publication further noted that Death Stranding 2 will feature VR challenges reminiscent of the VR missions in Metal Gear Solid, complete with similar sound effects and gameplay mechanics. Now, Kojima announced that the game has officially gone gold, meaning that its development is totally complete and is ready for mass production. To commemorate the launch, a limited edition DualSense controller themed around Death Stranding 2 will also be released. As the release date approaches, anticipation for Death Stranding 2 continues to build, with Kojima Productions hinting that test reviews have been even more positive than those of the original games. Fans of the Death Stranding 2 game can expect a deeper and more refined gameplay experience, as Kojima has described the sequel as an updated version of Metal Gear Solid 5, again blurring the lines between cinematic storytelling and open world exploration. Very exciting stuff indeed about all three of these Kojima games. Firstly, Death Stranding 2 coming out very soon. I was excited about the game anyway, but given that there are so many references and in some cases similarities to MGS, I'm even more excited about the game. The Xbox published OD horror game is interesting. Given that Xbox games are all heading to PlayStation, I'll be looking forward to playing this on the PS5 or even the PS6, depending on when it's actually going to come out. And as for Physint, the fact that we don't know anything about it and it still feels like this game has so much hype and excitement is kind of strange. But because I know it's Kojima directing the game and it is a stealth action game, and given his background and history with Metal Gear Solid, you can guarantee he's going to be leaning into that experience for the MGS games for Physint. Very interesting set of games coming up over the next few years from Kojima Productions. Guys, let me know your thoughts, let me know what you think in the comments, and let's move on. Concerning news, if you are a fan of PlayStation, well, at least for me anyway, because if you're a gaming or console traditionalist like me, maybe you're a little bit old-fashioned like me, you generally enjoy hearing about how many copies of a game have been sold. You get excited when you hear that a game has sold 5 million copies or 10 million copies, or that, the PlayStation console has sold 3 million units this month. You get excited, right? You get excited about how many game copies are sold and how many hardware units have been sold. I don't really like it when companies talk about, oh, we had 2 million players or 3 million players engaged in a game, because it doesn't really tell you about how the game is selling. Now, Lin Teo, the newly appointed Chief Financial Officer at Sony Interactive Entertainment, he's outlined a shift in the company's focus during the latest earnings call. And going forward, rather than focusing their efforts on hardware sell units, the company is now prioritizing monthly active users. According to Teo, the emphasis on engagement and increasing the user base is expected to drive profitability more effectively than hardware sales alone. The strategic change in direction coincides with the announcement that the PS5 has shipped over 77.8 million units worldwide. While the hardware numbers are impressive, Teo indicated that a large portion of new PlayStation 5 owners are entering the PlayStation ecosystem for the very first time, suggesting an opportunity to increase engagement and spending within this new audience segment. Very important part, that remember that for later, increase engagement and spending within this new segment. I don't like the sound of that, and I'll tell you why in a few minutes. Sony is also facing potential financial challenges due to US tariffs, which could impact its yearly operating income, and the company is currently assessing how to address these economic challenges. Meanwhile, Sony's management has been working on implementing structural reforms and financial discipline with focus on optimizing spending across first-party studios. While there have been notable improvements, Teo acknowledged that there is still room for further financial optimization. Look, I understand why they would focus on monthly active users. It's a good barometer of how many gamers are engaged with content on the platform, which is a crucial step for big corporations. Understanding how users engage and spend money on the platform, that's important, I get it. But I feel it's just going to cement a strategy at PlayStation designed to keep players consistently engaged on the platform. Remember that small piece of sentence I asked you to keep in mind, to increase engagement and spending within the new audience segment. Now, that feels like part of the strategy going forward will be games will not end. Live service and multiplayer games which just go on and on and on. Constant new seasons, constant battle pass systems and mechanics, constant DLCs, never-ending microtransactions. This could be the future of the player engagement strategy. Am I being a little bit over the top? Am I being a little bit melodramatic? Yeah, maybe. And it's honestly because I'm seeing a platform that I've loved playing my games on and have grown up with starting to change. And I don't like the change. I don't like the direction that Sony is continuing to push and go after. I don't know if the change is for the better or for the worse. Maybe it's me. Like I said, I'm a traditionalist. I'm not saying it's a bad thing that Sony is measuring player engagement. I just don't want them to move away from what they have delivered consistently well over the last 25 years. And that's great single player games. If they continue to deliver those types of games and want to add live service on top, that's an additional service, additional offering, additional games for gamers who may be interested in that type of content, then it's absolutely fine. And I think that's the direction they're going in. But I'd just let you know my thoughts. What do you think, guys? What are your thoughts on Sony's strategy of not really focusing on unit sales, but rather focusing on monthly active users? Let me know in the comments and let's move on. Doom: The Dark Ages, the highly anticipated first-person shooter from ID Software, has had a somewhat rocky start in terms of player number. According to Steam concurrent data, the game peaked at around 30,802 players, a significant drop compared to its predecessor Doom Eternal, which managed to attract over 3 times as many players. They attracted 106,000 players during its launch period. While the data only represents Steam, it is a noticeable gap considering Doom's established fanbase. Several key factors may have contributed to the game's underwhelming launch. For one, Doom: The Dark Ages is available through Xbox Game Pass, which could have drawn potential buyers away from Steam, so that is a consideration. Other Game Pass titles like Expedition 33 and Oblivion Remastered have also managed to attract player bases away from Doom, so that could also be a factor. On the PlayStation side of things, while the game is currently third on the PlayStation Store's bestseller list, trailing behind NBA 2K25 and Fortnite. While that suggests some level of interest on PlayStation, it's unclear whether the console version can compensate for the lackluster PC performance. Price may also be another factor of the game's slow start. At £69.99, dollars, wherever you are, euros, the cost of Doom: The Dark Ages is considered quite steep for a single-player first-person shooter, even one with generally positive reviews, because the game received an 8 out of 10 score on average. Some gamers feel that the price doesn't justify the content, especially in a market saturated with high-profile releases. Ultimately, more data will be needed to assess whether Doom: The Dark Ages can recover from its slow start, or if it will remain in the shadows by its predecessors and current market competitors. We know that the PlayStation version of Doom is just not well optimized. It's just pointless playing it on PlayStation right now. If you're hoping that it's going to be a well optimized game, you might as well wait for an update. But that wouldn't account for the poor concurrent player count on Steam, right? So why do you think the numbers are so low on Steam compared with Doom Eternal? Let me know in the comments and let's move on. Shams Georgiani, the head of Arrowhead Game Studios, has recently provided some insight regarding the development of Helldivers 2 and also on their upcoming project. In a discussion on Discord, Georgiani clarified that the company's upcoming project is entirely self-funded, with no financial backing or direct collaboration from PlayStation or any other publisher. However, he did go on to express his openness to work with Sony again in the future. Georgiani's comments highlighted the independence Arrowhead has gained due to the strong support of its fan base. He stated, "The wonderful thing is that thanks to the amazing support of you fine people, Arrowhead's future is quite bright. We have had the freedom to explore some really cool concepts that we couldn't have done otherwise." He went on to emphasize that the company's next game, which is internally referred to as Game 6, is 100% self-funded, allowing the studio to maintain complete creative control. And despite this newfound independence, Georgiani was quick to praise Sony, stating, "PlayStation is great. There would be no Helldivers right now if it wasn't for them. We're open to working with them again in the future. They are incredibly game and development orientated, solid partners, and this is just me saying it like it is, not blowing smoke up their asses." Helldivers 2, which launched in February 2024 for both PlayStation 5 and PC, has remained a popular title amongst online multiplayer fans. Earlier this week, Arrowhead rolled out a substantial update, version 1.003, introducing multiple new enemies, expanded weapon customization options, and key bug fixes. The new Warbond title Masters of Ceremony was also released, adding even more content to the game. I kind of get why they would want to self-fund their own game and remain independent. There's nothing like being your own boss, right? And for a studio, that's crucial. So it's good to see them doing well, and also good to see them acknowledge the role Sony played in supporting them with the development of Helldivers 2. I guess from Arrowhead's perspective, they would probably want to roll out their next project across all platforms, including PC and Xbox. So it makes sense for them to fund it themselves and have no restrictions as to which platforms they can ship their products to. What do you think, guys? Good call from Arrowhead remaining independent and funding it themselves? Or would you have preferred they partner with a publisher like Sony or someone else for support? Let me know your thoughts in the comments and let's move on. Microsoft seems to be making strides towards integrating Steam into its ecosystem. According to insider Exodus Ones, the tech giant has started internal testing of Steam integration within the Microsoft Store, a move that could significantly alter the next generation Xbox experience. In a recent YouTube podcast, Exodus One revealed that Microsoft has added a Steam developer beta to its support software, currently accessible only to select employees and collaborators. This development aligns with previous reports from Windows Central Jez Corden, who predicted that the next Xbox generation would adopt a more PC-centric approach. Exodus One suggests that Microsoft is laying the groundwork for a seamless integration between its Xbox and Windows platforms, allowing users to access Steam directly from their consoles without complicated setups. If this integration materializes, it could be a game changer, making it easier for players to access a broader library of games across both PC and Xbox platforms. The move is also significant considering recent rumors that the next-gen Xbox will include both a successor to the Xbox Series X and a handheld device, both potentially launching in 2027. Microsoft is reportedly aiming to release its new hardware ahead of Sony's anticipated PlayStation 6, attempting to gain an edge after opting out of a mid-gen console refresh. So hang on a second, help me understand here, guys. Those of you that are tech savvy, if you can play your Steam games via the new Xbox console in 2027, that means you can play PC Steam games on a console, right? So does that mean Steam wouldn't need a console? They don't have their own system right now. So does it mean they're not going to bring one out in the future because they're partnering with Xbox? I don't know. What you reckon? Is that right? What about PlayStation games that are available on Steam? Would that mean you will be able to play your Xbox games, Steam games, and PlayStation games on the new Xbox platform coming out in 2027? Would Sony even allow that to happen? I mean, if you could play all your games on one box, that's the dream, isn't it? That's the dream. Surely that's what everybody wants. And looking at this from another perspective, I mean, allowing console players to access Steam games if you wanted to play them on your console instead of PC, surely that's a good thing for Steam, isn't it? They get access to console players who wouldn't otherwise be interested in their games because those gamers wouldn't necessarily be playing on PC. But then Steam games are cheaper than console games, so why would you pay £70 and £80 on PlayStation or Xbox if those games were available on Steam? Oh, so many questions. Can opened, worms are everywhere. What are your thoughts on this, guys? Would this even happen? Enlighten me. Access to Steam games on a console, to me, sounds pretty exciting. Let's move on. So Capcom may have just teased the next installment of the Resident Evil franchise during a celebration video for the Resident Evil 4 remake. While the developer has yet to officially confirm the project, known leaker Aesthetic Gamer, also known as Dusk Golem, who is the person to go to for all things Resident Evil, has claimed on social media platform X that the new Resident Evil game is still set to be revealed later this year. According to Aesthetic Gamer, while the reveal date remains uncertain, the game is likely to be announced either during the Summer Game Fest in June or the Game Awards in December. The release window is reportedly targeting for a 2026 release, though it's unclear whether the game will launch before or after the end of the current fiscal year on March the 31st, 2026. Thus far, details about the upcoming Resident Evil game are pretty much non-existent. Aesthetic Gamer previously reported that the game would 100% feature Leon S. Kennedy as the main protagonist in the game, with Resident Evil 7 Biohazard director Kosha Nakanishi leading the project. While Jill Valentine was initially rumoured to play a significant role, it appears that those plans may have changed as development progresses. As always, it's exciting to hear news, rumours and leaks about Resident Evil games, especially Resident Evil 9, as it's supposed to be an open world game, and I've heard all sorts about this game, so keen to learn more, want to know more really, and I hope we get to see a trailer, at least of gameplay, at the Summer Game Fest in June. So let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you on the next video.